You can see right here, this is the pons, and starting from there underneath is the medulla oblongata. This is your spinal cord, which is coming downwards. This is towards the inside of the body, so this is the anterior medial sulcus that you can see right here. So anterior medial fissure that you can see passing through the center, which is dividing the spinal cord into the, showing the bilateral symmetry. The spinal nerves coming out from each side, dividing the spinal cord into 31 equal segments. You can see that these nerves that are coming out, they will then be moving to the different parts of your body. In the thoracic region, mainly going into your intercostal muscles right here. We will talk about some of the other nerves and what they do. Here where the spinal cord ends, in this portion, which is the conical portion, that's your conus medullaris. That conus medullaris is attached by this long fiber which connects it all the way to the bottom where your coccyx is. So that long fibrous connection, that is known as your filum terminale. And all of these root-like structures, these nerve roots that are hanging from the conus medullaris, all of that is cauda equina. Okay, so that's what we have studied so far. Now looking at the cross section of the spinal cord, and this is the picture that I was showing you a little while ago. So if you see right here, you can see that this is the vertebra with the spinal cord right in the center. So looking at the structure of the vertebra, what kind of vertebra is this? Why is it the cervical? The spinous process, which you can see is bifid, right? Bifid spinous process that only happens in the cervical vertebra. Okay, now let's look at the spinal cord, which is right here in the center. So on the outside, let's start from the outside. This space right here, this is the epidural space, this fatty space, lots of adipose tissue, areolar tissue, blood vessels also present here. This is the epidural space that we said is used for epidural injections. You can see this right here is the dura mater. So you can see the dura mater right here. A very thin subdural space here in the middle. And this membrane right here is your arachnoid mater. Right here in the middle, this space, this is the subarachnoid space, and then the pia mater, which is sitting right here on top of your spinal cord. Now, looking at this structure, what is this structure then? Anterior median fissure. So that makes this as the dorsal median sulcus. So this becomes the anterior side, this becomes the posterior side. So this will be the anterior gray horn. This will be the posterior gray horn. This is the lateral gray horn. You can see the gray commissure right here. You can see the central canal right in the center. Now from the posterior or the dorsal side, you can see the dorsal root coming out. Is that sensory or motor?
Sensory.
Sensory. And it goes into this ganglion which is called dorsal root ganglion. We have a slide for the dorsal root ganglion also kept on that microscope there. So please take a look at that. This is the ventral root, which is the motor root. So together the sensory and the motor will finally form this nerve, which is the spinal nerve. The spinal nerve, which is a mixed nerve. And you can see this branch coming out, which is the rami communicantis. And you can see the dorsal ramus going out that way. You can see the ventral ramus going further ahead. We have another model. Where is that one which comes on this flat? There's a flat disc spinal one. It's like a flat disc and it has this cross section. And I will take this one. Look at the other spinal cord. What is there inside? Just figure out whatever. Okay. Let's look at this model right here. So again, you can see right in the center, you can see the gray matter. You can see the gray horns going all the way to the edges on the posterior side. And on the outside, you can see all these meningeal layers. So You can see the pia mater sitting right there, the arytenoid mater, and on the outermost there, this is your dura mater on the outside. No, that's a reflexar. There's another white flat model with the spinal cord in the center. Yes, that one. Okay, I want to show you the branches of the spinal nerve, which you can see quite well here, and you have to know. So look at these two branches. You can see the dorsal root coming out here, and you will be able to see the dorsal root ganglion, which might not be clear when I'm showing you, but when you see yourself, you will be able to see. There is the dorsal root ganglion that I'm touching right here, and then the ventral root, which is right next to it. So the dorsal root and the ventral root together, they are forming the spinal nerve. Now this spinal nerve will then first bifurcate to form the two, the gray ramus and the white ramus. You don't have to know which is what, but together they are called the rami communicantis. The rami communicantis are joining with the sympathetic chain ganglion, which are present on the sides of the vertebral column. The sympathetic chain ganglia, which are the sympathetic ganglia, which are a part of the sympathetic part system of the autonomic nervous system, and they are connected by the interganglionic branches right here. So these interganglionic branches are connecting the sympathetic chain ganglion. So the rami communicantis are forming the connection between the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Then comes the dorsal ramus, which is going to the posterior portion of your body, and then the ventral ramus that is coming up, going to the ventral portion of your body. Now, a similar model, we have exactly the same structures that are shown here. This also might be used for the same exam, for your exam. So again, knowing which is the anterior median fissure, knowing the posterior median sulcus, knowing the three different gray horns, posterior gray horn, anterior gray horn, lateral gray horn, knowing that this is the dorsal root ganglion, the ventral root, and then the branches. You have the rami communicantis coming out from here, you have the dorsal root and the ventral root. Knowing the white matter around, remember on the sides, this is the lateral white matter, this is the anterior white matter, posterior white matter right here. Okay, so any of these models might be used for your spinal cord cross section. Now let's look at how nervous signals come into your spinal